Good afternoon, and welcome to today's program titled Efficient Empathy, How AI Could Shape the Future of RCM Call Centers, part of the HealthLeaders Revenue Cycle Technology Week. My name is Jasmine Ray, and I am the Revenue Cycle Editor for HealthLeaders and your moderator for today's webinar. Today's program is sponsored by Cedar. Thank you to our sponsor and to you and our audience for giving us your time and attention. Our program will be 60 minutes in length. Note that an on-demand version of this program will be available approximately 1 day after the completion of the event and can be accessed using the same login link that you use for the live program. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping details. First, to ensure that you can see all the content for the event, please maximize your event window and be sure to adjust your computer volume settings and/or PC speakers for optimal sound quality. Second, you will find resources for today's webinar in the upper right side of your screen. Here, we have listed the webinar slide deck and other materials from our supporter for you to interact with. Third, at the bottom of your console are multiple widgets you can use. To submit a question, click on the Q&A widget. It may be open already and appear on the left side of your screen. You may submit questions at any time during the presentation. However, please note that it is likely that your questions will not be answered until the Q&A portion of the program. Should you experience any technical difficulties during today's program and need assistance, please click on the Help widget, which has a question mark icon and covers common technical issues. Finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today's program. We have Samaya Raman, Director of Data Science for Machine Learning and Infrastructure at Cedar. We have Amy Stillman, Vice President of Product Design at Cedar, and Dugan Winke, Vice President, Head of Commercial Strategy for Cedar. Thank you all for taking the time to speak with us today. And with that, the audience is yours.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're very excited to share our vision of automation as it relates to RCM call centers. So I'm Dugan Winke. I'll kick off introductions. So I am the head of our commercial strategy team, which is responsible for incubating and commercializing net new product bets. So prior to Cedar, I was an associate partner at McKinsey & Company in their healthcare practice, and prior to that was an implementation executive at Epic. So I'm going to hand it over to Amy to introduce herself.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. I'm Amy Stillman. I'm the Vice President of Product Design, and I've been at Cedar for the last 5 years, leading our award-winning product design and research and insights team. Previous to Cedar, I've worked for Fortune 500 clients in e-commerce, retail, automotive, hospitality, finance, pharmaceuticals, and also ad tech, working for digital marketers, helping them create personalized experiences for clients like Airbnb and Spotify. So I'm so excited to be with you today and talk more about our vision for AI. I'll hand it to Samaya.
Thanks, Amy. I'm Samaya, and I'm a Director of Data Science at Cedar, leading our AI and ML initiatives. I've been at Cedar a little over 2 years, coming to Cedar after working in some big tech companies, including Apple, and spending some time in venture capital and private equity, where I worked on building custom AI solutions for our various portfolio companies. One thing that I've noticed is that the most enjoyable parts of my career is when I've worked on anything related to healthcare. It's one of the most impactful industries and comes with some really interesting challenges, especially in regards to application of AI. So I'm excited to dive deeper into the subject with you all today. And I'll hand it back to Dugan.
All right. So I'm going to kick it off. I wanted to just take a few brief minutes to introduce Cedar. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. Said simply, at Cedar, our mission is to empower us all to easily and affordably pursue the care that we need. So why does this matter? Why is this our North Star here at Cedar? Well, in short, it's because there is a massive need for best-in-class patient financial experience, more now than ever. So patient billing is no longer a footnote or an afterthought. It's the center stage, and it's a meaningful driver of patient retention and overall patient experience. With the increase in high deductible health plans, as well as some of the national trends for self-pay, your patient responsibility is just as important dollar-wise as your relationship with your largest payers. In fact, we see that 4 in 10 patients have either delayed treatment due to payment concerns, will not pay bills that they can't understand, and have switched providers due to a negative billing experience. Not to mention the fact that best-in-class health systems are only collecting about 40 cents on the dollar owed to them by patients. This is a problem that requires a partner who is singularly focused on innovation to meet consumers' needs. So, how are we helping address this problem? We provide an end-to-end solution for the patient financial experience, from pre-visit estimates to post-visit billing and payment. Along the journey, depending on the individual patient's needs, we'll connect them to machine learning optimized payment plans, provide real-time deductible status for their insurance, display their HSA balance, and even guide them through a fully self-serve Medicaid application, to name a few. So we believe very strongly that a network strategy is needed to optimize patient financial experience because no one player in the ecosystem has all the answers. And we'll actually delve into that a little bit more when we go through our automation strategy. So how do we do this? We do this with a relentless focus on consumer engagement optimization. So rhetorical question, do you know whether it's more effective to text a patient on Tuesday at 4 p.m. or Wednesday at 9 a.m.? We do, because we've A/B tested it with our data science team. And the answer is it depends. And it depends on the patient archetype, which is why you cannot rely on an EHR sort system of record that really follows a one-size-fits-all approach. Okay, so switching gears, let's get into what everybody wants to talk about, artificial intelligence. So when it comes to revenue cycle, it's hard to know where to invest. What will be most beneficial to your organization? What's ethical? How should you think about guardrails alongside ROI? And underpinning all of this is where is the substance versus the noise? So we've actually spent a lot of time thinking about these exact questions. So as previously mentioned, dealing with medical bills is one of the most stressful, time-consuming, and costly parts of the patient experience. Patients are facing rising costs, causing more Americans to go bankrupt than any other sector. This can take their attention away from both getting well and recovering. At the same time, providers are facing staffing shortages, rising wages and costs, and unprecedented burnout. This means that there's limited bandwidth to give patients the help that they need and deserve. So, can artificial intelligence make the patient financial experience better? Yes, we believe strongly that call centers in particular offer an untapped opportunity for revenue cycle leaders to thoughtfully leverage AI. So I'm going to try to make this somewhat interactive. But if you can leverage just the chat box in your webinar, I would love to hear your take on this question. What percentage of calls do you think could be reduced with automation? Maybe your organization has already looked into this. Maybe it's a bit of a gut feel or a leading indicator based on some, secondary information. But we'll take like 30 seconds here. Would love to just have you all put an answer in the chat, and then we'll talk about our insights. Okay, see 50%, 10%, 40%, 65%. All right, pretty widespread, right? Going from 10% to 65%. And for us, that's not abnormal. frankly, most health systems don't really have a clear beat on this. And it's understandable because it's a very hard question to answer. So what we have done at Cedar is actually try to answer that question. And the answer, the top line message is that we think conservatively 35% of calls could be automated. How did we get this answer? So we actually took hundreds of hours of call recordings from one of our clients and fed it into our LLM model to assess the degree of potential automation. So that's how we came up with this. Again, very conservative, but just based on the questions and the responses that we're seeing in the chat, this is indicative of what most of you feel, which is there is a high degree of automation potential. And just as one anecdote, I was speaking with a health system, $5 billion NPR, and they were looking at their call reasons, and only 3% of calls to the billing customer service was focused on taking payments. That means 97% of calls are for questions, data requests, and these are all things that we think if we arm health systems and patients with the right information, it could make a sizable impact. All right, so how are we going about this? At Cedar, we're improving servicing efficiency with AI through 3 levers. First off, increasing patient self-service confidence and providing them the necessary information so that they don't have to call in the first place. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? However, there's always going to be a subsegment of patients whose first action is to pick up the phone. And we are leveraging IVR optimization as well as conversational AI to really reduce the number of calls that need to ultimately be routed to a human agent. So an example of that is, I need a copy of my itemized statement. We can handle that request in a much more expedited manner than having to take, a valuable person's time. And then finally, there's always going to be those calls that require an agent conversation. So we want to make those agents as efficient as possible. So providing better tools to both monitor and manage the service center interactions. So we'll actually break this down and show you discretely what we are doing and also what we think the opportunity is. But also want to call to attention that underpinning all of this is advanced analytics and insights. So you really need to optimize between those 3 buckets and be constantly ingesting new information and iterating, which is never a one-time solution because consumer preferences changes on a daily basis. So, we firmly believe that you need a partner who can change with that. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Amy and Sumaya, who are going to share more about how we think about AI at Cedar and also some more discrete opportunities to optimize servicing.
Great, thanks, Dugan. So as Dugan mentioned, Sumaya and I are going to walk through how we think about AI at Cedar. But first, I'm really curious to know, how do you think about AI? What are you fearful of? Did we all watch the latest episode of Black Mirror? I don't want those realities to all become true, but also what are we excited about? Where do we see this potential? Have you encountered AI in some other application that you thought, wow, that's really cool. I wish we could apply that to the problems I'm seeing at work. But yeah, would love to see your responses in the chat. Cool. Any ideas around AI in the chat? Yeah. Okay. So at Cedar, we believe in human-centered, empathetic, and data-driven approach to our billing. So we want to make sure our AI, a few more. Oh yeah, Claire, so excited to not be having to drive myself to work. Yes, agree. Love the possibilities of AI. I agree. I see it in everyday applications. I think even on on Amazon. I love it when they summarize the reviews of folks so you don't have to read through all of them, right? Or I was recently booking a trip and TripAdvisor did the same. I was looking for a family-friendly hotel with a reasonable rate, and but don't want to lose touch of the human completely. Yes. So that's really how why we've kind of created some AI principles. I think it's easy to get lost in the technology. And so we wanted to make sure that we were keeping kind of our beliefs at the center of what we were developing. So with that, I'm sure as an RCM leader, there's questions like, should I just automate everything? People go into healthcare because they want to help people. And, we see at Providence, they really, one of our clients, their call reps are actually called caregivers. And that's because they really care about the financial experience. So for us, as we think about where to automate, it's not actually automating out of the humans, but actually allowing, our clients' call center reps, especially Providence, when they're called caregivers, right, deliver that care. So how do we help them work at the top of their license so they can really do their best work? So this set of AI principles will help us inform our work. So guided by the principles and also our experiments and data, we're always kind of data backed in our decisions. We're developing solutions to reduce call volume and make agents as efficient as possible while still preserving the human touch. And with that, because I always, again, like to kind of put a story to technologies and a face to it, I wanted to introduce Alice. So we're not just focused on today's problems for revenue cycle leaders, but also how we'll be working together. So AI is changing constantly, so we may have to think about tomorrow's problems will be and where RCM leaders should focus future investment. So here you can meet Alice, and Alice will kind of be talking about her patient journey. We'll be looking at AI and her problems through her eyes. Alice has recently had a baby and she's receiving many new bills. Been through that experience. I have 2 children, so I can definitely identify with this. And she is confused about her deductible, and she has many charges and is confused about what she owes. So, this would definitely be someone we could see spiking call volume, trying to understand and make sense of her problem. With that, our first AI principle, deliver clarity. So here we want to make sure that delivering clarity to patients by connecting the dots with AI. So we see AI as being really strong in this applications. So patients should never have to waste time with phone calls, emails, or endless research to understand their healthcare financial journey. We believe AI should connect the dots, empowering patients to make informed decisions tailored to their personal circumstances.
So we know that first impressions are really important. When a patient first looks at their bill, we want them to feel calm, assured, and confident that they can trust their bill. We can improve the user experience with AI by providing clear explanations that enable patients to connect the dots and make sense of the numbers that they see on the screen. With these UX improvements, we can increase patient confidence to pay their bill, keeping them off the phone lines to begin with, leading to a meaningful reduction in call volume. So now let's go back to Alice.
Great. So back to Alice, kind of looking back at our patient, and Alice is overwhelmed by all the information presented to her, and she wishes someone would walk through it all with her. So we can see this, patients all the time. That's why they get on the phone. They need help. And so at one client, we've seen 64% of calls involve a patient wanting to better understand their bill. So we can see that with Alice. So we see a real AI opportunity here. And the patients don't always need to call to understand their bills. It's possible that we can provide them the answers to their questions right in the user interface as they see it. So, what if she opens her bill on her phone and the AI explainer walks her through the bill details and how far along she is in her deductible by connecting the two of her current bill totals, right, and showing her all that information in one summary. So even though some patients have other questions that require a call, we do see an opportunity for call reduction at the top of the funnel for these moments where our patient has questions and we can answer them in the UI right as they're seeing the information and help them understand and connect the dots. So our next kind of AI principle here is earn trust. So with earning trust, we consider that, it's not just that patients give us trust, but we really need to earn it. So patients should never have to worry about if their health information, if we have it, and what we might do with it. So technology providers should be transparent about using AI. So we should let our patients know if we're using AI, here it is, give them some sort of symbol or indicator that the AI is working. And so that's us also being proactive about the privacy and accuracy of every patient's data.
So the payment platform user interface is one place where we can use AI to increase a patient's trust in their bill, but it definitely doesn't end there. As Amy said, there are patients who will still need additional help, causing them to pick up the phone and call in for some assistance. With AI, we want to reduce the number of calls that need to go to a real agent. With automated IVR and conversational AI, that is one of the biggest opportunities for call reduction. And like Amy said, what's really important here is to use AI transparently and make it clear to the patient when they are talking to a live human versus a conversational AI.
To Alice. So she may have had her first couple questions answered, but the next day she gets a new bill and does not have her secondary insurance applied. So she is connected immediately to an AI assistant in the chat. So here's a great AI opportunity. So now Alice, after being able to answer some of her own questions, she actually does need to chat in at this point. So the cool thing here that could definitely happen with the AI is that instead of having to talk to a person, she's able to tell the AI her problem. The AI is actually very good at task completion and searching and adding by identifying information. So they often can be faster than a human call center representative. So this is great for Alice because this is a very speedy way to identify the information and the insurance that she needs. Alice is made aware that she's speaking to a conversational AI and told that her secondary insurance has been found and applied. And given how quickly and easily the call has gone, she appreciates that this only took a few minutes and has no problem using this feature again for other simple questions in the future. So part of this, right, is the AI opportunity here is that it's really great at pairing the information and very speedy. So it gives Alice a great experience as a patient. Great. Our next principle is really about scaling empathy. So I actually think this is a really unique thing that the AI technology can do. So scaling empathy through thoughtful applications of AI. So one thing that's interesting is the emotional intelligence can be an integral part of AI, ensuring that tools are deployed with empathy to facilitate positive, productive conversations that connect team members and patients as fellow humans. So it's not just a buzzword here for us. We actually think that this is a safe and thoughtful way to incorporate technology. I'll give you an example again with Alice. So after taking her child to an out-of-network specialist, Alice tries to pay on her HSA card, but she is denied. So she's embarrassed and frustrated. So an interesting part here, and really an opportunity that we'll see with the AI, is that AI can, as Alice calls in and talks on the phone, IVR with an AI assistant can actually detect the frustration in her voice and ask her some preliminary questions. So in an empathetic way, the AI can help diagnose her problem quickly and triage her to an agent in the benefits department. So it's really interesting to me that AI can pick up on tone and can understand frustration in a patient's voice. Can you imagine how this might change call center interactions if we met people where they were and understood how they were feeling as we answered their calls and were able to get them answers in an empathetic way? So here, team members, that part of this AI principle is really empowering team members. So team members should never be bogged down by menial, low-value tasks. AI should be used to erase inefficiencies and give teams the freedom to focus on the complex problems that they are expertly trained to solve. So this is one of those moments where we talk about agents, or at Providence caregivers being able to work at the top of their license and really being able to empower their patient with the right information and solve their problems. So empowering team members to solve problems, too crucial for AI alone.
So back when we asked you to enter your response in the chat for how many calls or what percentage of calls could be automated, One thing I noticed is that no one said 100%. So I think it's pretty clear to us all that even with the advances in AI and call automation technology, there's still going to be some subset of calls that need to be handled by human team members. For these team members, they can be assisted with AI tools that provide them with the information they need to make them more efficient, enabling them to focus their attention on the harder problems. One concept we've designed is a case researcher tool that collates details on a particular patient's case, including suggestions of what might be the issue that they're calling in about. I'll pass it on to Amy to show you what that might look like in a real-world situation.
Great. So now we have call center representative Jake. He's here to help, but he has to get up to speed on Alice's issues with her HSA card. So we've seen that it can take a call center representative up to 2 minutes to gain context on a problem before they can start helping a patient. We know for patients this can be frustrating, especially in Alice's situation where she's already calling in with frustration. So they may not seem like they have a lot of time. But patients overall experience declines when they have to repeat their problems and their frustrations. So call center Jake, he's here to help, but he also needs the AI's help. So a great opportunity here is something that we've been thinking about, the AI case researcher. So what if Alice's call is put in his cube and Jake can see the reason for the call, a short summary from the AI case researcher, and the fact that Alice has just had a baby, some information about her, that she's filled out a new network claim, and recently experienced an HSA card denial. So that's all at Jake's fingertips as he begins his interaction with Alice. So he's able to start addressing Alice's problem as soon as they are connected. AI serves up a pre-written response, one that has been formulated from similar calls that were well received by patients. In our research, we found that almost all calls can be positively impacted by the case researcher. So even something that pulls up the key info of a patient on the page for the operator will improve the efficiency, at least slightly. So we're excited about this for them. Helping Jake. Cool. So Jake is now ready to close out Alice's case. So he's helped Alice. Alice is off the phone. She's much happier. But really this, the call hasn't ended for Jake. He still has to manually summarize the case and the resolution reason. So it can be hard for call center agents to listen and help patients while also taking notes to officially close out cases. I think we often find this data is missing, incomplete, and sometimes mistagged. So when multitasking, call center data can be mistagged and it's hard to track. So it's hard to really then, the other side of this, it's hard to uncover the insights of what's actually happening in your call center queue. So the AI opportunity here would be that we can actually have the AI help us with this. So give call center representatives more time to help patients and resolve their challenging problems. So what if the call summary is generated for Jake already? He can read it and approve it, add any other details that he'd like to, and see the tags with issues with relevant call reasons and keywords. This then provides a wealth of data that helps us better manage call center interactions in the future and understand call reasons. So our last kind of AI principle here is preserving control. So preserving team members' control over their work. So team members should never feel like they're taking a back seat to the technology. I think you can see that here with Jake, and that it's more that the AI-powered tools should let the team members stay in control, giving them information, tools, and confidence they need to determine when to trust AI outputs and be able to second guess them or correct them and edit them.
All right, so now we've taken you through the servicing funnel, but we can actually kick things up a notch with AI-powered tools that offer insight on every stage. This is our AI-powered business intelligence that can identify actionable insights regarding patients, the work being done by team members, and on the AI itself, enabling further optimization and improvements.
So thinking more about this, right? We've completed the funnel. We've met Alice and Jake. Jake's boss, Molly, is here, and she's monitoring how the day is going. She's able to see a live dashboard of call volume, but she still isn't able to see the full breadth and depth of our issues for her team resolve for that day. So the interesting thing here, right, is that AI, it can help us summarize, but it also can help us then just start to provide insights. So with this, right, the AI opportunity is, what if Molly, she's able to see a live dashboard, right? So not just at the end of the day, but during the day, not just efficiency metrics, but also patient tone, operator tone, patient NPS, and trending issues to identify wider problems. This makes Molly's job much different, right? She can then flag the trending new issues around HSA card denials, and the AI populates a standardized answer for agents. So that's making Molly more connected to her reps and making sure that they're able to answer questions. She's also able to update FAQ articles and publish them online to make sure that patients' answers are being met in all of the different areas in which they're searching for them. So there's really an opportunity here. It's really interesting to be able to summarize the data that quickly and provide real-time insights and updates and ideas. Great. So I'm going to pass it back to Dugan.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And look forward to continuing this conversation. So we've been talking a lot, right, about opportunities for thoughtful and securely embedded AI. But I think the question many of you are probably asking is what does it look like today? So I'm going to share how we're leveraging the latest LLM technology to answer patients' most pressing questions and boost staff efficiency. So we fully recognize that new technologies like LLMs come with challenges, but our journey over the past year has provided valuable insights into their potential. So our goal at the end of the day is, how do we enhance the end-to-end healthcare financial experience through thoughtful application of AI, ensuring that every interaction is not just streamlined, but enriched with intelligent, compassionate support. All right, so let me walk you through what this looks. So we recently launched our AI solution in a client service center. So the initial use case was focused on reducing the involvement of call center staff in straightforward patient interactions, while empowering them to tackle, some of those more complex issues. So we can see here, the initial step is, in this case, it was originated by chat. So the patient would submit a question in our chatbot that's integrated into our solution, and that representative would receive that message. So next step. So our AI assistant actually will draft the response. So we're answering patients' questions before they need to speak to somebody live with our proactive, thoughtful AI. It can also provide real-time auto-generated responses for staff to send to patients that they're live chatting with. So as you can see in the example on the screen, where the patient is incorrectly thinking that they've been double billed. All right. And then lastly, in addition to customizing based on the client's historical chat data, we're also customizing according to the client's servicing scripts. So ultimately, how are we incorporating AI into both the staff and patient workflows, where a rep has the ability to edit and modify or just send directly? So for this initial use case, this was very important to ensure that last kind of principle that, or one of the last principles that Amy was alluding to, where there was accountability, right? And the human was ultimately the one dictating a lot of these rules, while simultaneously leveraging efficiency improvements. So what were some of the results? At a high level, I would say, very positive, especially as it relates to some of these positive reactions. So we're still, evolving the full set of capabilities and rollout. But you can see here, these are all real comments around our AI assistant that we embedded within our broader platform. So hopefully this use case kind of helps show this from a qualitative perspective, but I'm sure this audience, their follow-up question is, okay, what about quantitative results? So with that, I'll turn it back to Samaya.
Thanks, Dugan. So for us, getting this type of feedback meant that we could assist and delight patients with relevant, timely, and personalized information. So here on this slide, we talk about some of the more quantitative results. And what we saw is that by building a self-service menu that enables patients to click on their question and see a pre-generated response that's tailored with the patient's personal details, we saw that 7% of patients who indicated that they wanted to start a chat actually exit that chat after reviewing the pre-written tailored response. We also saw a 9% reduction in chat volume because these patients were able to successfully find an answer to their question and did not require help from an agent. So while this part of the feature was rules-based, AI was used to power the analysis of the chat data that enabled the development of the flows in the self-service menu. This allowed us to accurately reflect what patients ask about and how to best resolve their query. Of the users who viewed the self-service menu content and exited from the chat queue without requiring help from an agent, 84% of those patients who rated the content gave it a 5 out of 5 in helpfulness, showing that they found the content valuable. In addition to reducing the number of patients that had to talk to an agent, the self-service menu also contributed to reduced chat durations because it enabled patients to self-serve a resolution to their easier questions so that if they did end up talking to an agent, they could just skip the basic questions and go straight to the more complex ones. So on the next slide, we talk about the results from the AI chat assistant, which showed how we could drive staff satisfaction by streamlining administrative operations. So in addition to that self-service menu, we launched the AI chat assistant that Dugan walked through, which provided suggested responses for agents to review and send. And in combination with the self-service menu, this tool enabled us to decrease chat durations by 17%, which equated to an average of a 2.5-minute decrease per chat session. And patients were getting responses to each of their questions about 34% faster compared to our baseline. This provides an indication that AI could improve the efficiency of agents who are responding to inbound questions from patients. And of course, with the AI chat assistant, the agents have the option to use the AI suggestions directly, or they can simply reference the AI-generated content to write their own responses. Both methods help improve efficiency, enabling the agent to have control to use AI in the way they deem best for each individual situation. Even when the agents chose to write their own responses rather than directly send the AI suggestion, 56% of the time, we saw that the AI-generated content aligned with the agent-generated content, showcasing the accuracy of our AI suggestions. Another really interesting thing we learned is that with a few simple tweaks in our AI assistant tool, we were able to produce increased user adoption by agents. We conducted some over-the-shoulder observation sessions with agents, and we ran user interviews. And after doing that, we updated the way that the AI suggestions were surfaced. And after this update, the rate at which agents directly utilized the AI responses doubled, showcasing the importance of design and usability. So overall, with the AI chat assistant, we got some amazing results, some amazing feedback, and what all of it tied into was the ability to reduce costs. So due to a combination of factors, one of which was remediation from the Change Healthcare incident, there was actually a large uptick in the volume of invoices that were released the month after we launched our AI chat. Typically, a large increase in the number of active invoices would have led to the need to add an additional agent to work the chat queue. However, the call center manager shared that despite the increase in patient inbounds, no additional agents needed to be added to work the chat queue because the AI chat assistant enabled agents to more easily handle multiple chats simultaneously and to do so in an effective and efficient way. And this was super exciting because it demonstrated how our AI tool had a direct impact on staffing costs.
So most importantly, our model is thoughtful, safe, and can be configured to your organization's unique policies and historical chat data. An interesting note from our chat pilot so far is that a few weeks ago, there was a patient who said they were hearing disabled and thus couldn't talk on the phone. The agent initially didn't quite know how to respond, but the AI chat crafted a really perfect, empathetic response in which made the agent was grateful for. The agent was so grateful that they had the right words at the right time. And so they were able to utilize the AI's suggested response immediately and send that along to the patient. So a great example here about how AI can help be a partner to our call representatives. So thank you so much for your time today. We'll be taking some questions in a few minutes. We would love to continue this conversation with you all on AI. I know everyone has very specific ideas and applications to your organization, and it's exciting, but it's also challenging to know where to apply AI. So if you're interested in an automation assessment, we'd love to partner with you to help identify some of those low-hanging fruit projects that could help make you more efficient and better serve your patients. So please feel free to reach out to us via email or add us on LinkedIn. And now we'll begin the Q&A. Yep. So I see one question here in the chat. How did you come up with your AI principles? So we actually did an exercise and we looked at some of the best applications of AI and some of the worst is what we called it. And then we also talked to some industry experts, and our team kind of synthesized that. And then we thought, with the healthcare lens and specifically our business, how should we apply these to us? And to our business specifically, with healthcare and financial data being top of mind. And so that was kind of the way that we came up with it. Pretty fun to look at the best and worst scenarios, but a great way to kind of paint the extremes and know what we want to yearn for, but also what we want to stay away from.
Okay. Happy to take this next one. Since patients typically prefer speaking with a real person when dealing with their bill, how well does AI mimic the experience of speaking to a real person? I think the short answer is it's pretty amazing how far conversational voice-based AI agents have come. This is not the automated robot voice informing you that you have an appointment at 2 p.m. It's able to both respond to questions, but I think for me, what's been pretty eye-opening is just the latency. It's extremely low. When we say conversational, it truly does feel conversational. It's not asking a question and then waiting 30 seconds, right, while we run it through the model. So I think that's one component. I think we talked about the trust basis as well, being open and transparent with patients. But simultaneously, I think the other component that's going to be really critical is, there's a million chat GPT wrapper solutions out there right now. Like, that is not what healthcare needs. we need to have LLM models that are trained and specifically have guardrails around the data. But secondarily, how do we bring in additional sources of insight? So for us, like one of Cedar's differentiations is that we have deep integrations with hundreds of payers. So on the consumer end, it provides functionality like displaying my HSA balance or what is my real-time deductible status. But we're excited about the potential because the more data inputs that we can layer in to the responses, the richer they become. Because a large majority of questions to providers are payer questions at the end of the day, and that's the way it's always been. But hopefully through this solution, we're going to be able to really paint a more comprehensive picture than just what any single vendor, provider, or payer can do in isolation.
And I'm noticing there's another question in the chat that actually relates really closely to what Dugan just said. So the question is, are you working with any outside partners to build your AI/LLM models? Currently, we are partnering with Google and using their latest foundation model, Gemini. But what I think is really exciting is about the way we utilize Cedar's data and layer it on top of the Gemini model with our prompts, data workflows, and extracting the useful information from our databases to be able to craft the most effective AI responses. So although we do partner with Google for their foundation model, it's Cedar's data that enables the model to function so effectively for this healthcare billing specific use case. I'm seeing another question about privacy and security. So what is your approach to privacy and security? So when it comes to large language models and AI, there are a ton of different privacy and security considerations. So what we did for our application is design a secure multi-cloud infrastructure. Multi-cloud because we use both AWS, Amazon Web Services, in addition to Google's AI services. And we use a secure infrastructure to protect patient data throughout the LLM application lifecycle, and we prevent unauthorized human access to the data. One specific way we do that is by redacting PHI, protected health information, from the data that's stored in our vector databases and our data pipelines, to ensure that they would never show up in chat interactions unless, of course, it's specific PHI to that patient that we are currently chatting with. So this eliminates the possibility of leaking sensitive data, protecting the privacy of our patients while still enabling secure and rapid development of the chatbot. We also follow a series of privacy and security principles in the data workflows that we design. For example, when a patient inquiry comes in, we categorize that inquiry and have category-specific data retrieval workflows to retrieve the relevant account details. And we define a clear boundary of information that's needed to resolve the patient's request. So those are just a few of the ways that we ensure privacy and security. But there are a ton of different concerns when it comes to building with LLMs, like prompt injection, request forgery, output manipulation. And those are all things that we very closely consider when we're designing our solution to ensure that we can prevent those types of attacks.
Okay, it looks like maybe we have time for one more question. So is there a % of call automation that you're working towards that is considered ideal? So I don't have a perfect answer for this question. I would say we are looking at 35% as our floor. So we were purposely conservative during that LLM automation diagnostic that I described earlier. So we do think that is the floor. That is going to be predicated on a few things, right? It's going to be predicated on having that full stack of resolution. So self-service, voice-enabled, conversational, and operator efficiency. And when you add up the call it totality of both avoiding calls on the front end and operators and call center representatives being more efficient on the back end, that'll equate to that. That being said, like we are not in the business of just throwing out numbers. So we do think that is fairly conservative. Like if you ask for my personal opinion, I think somewhere north of 50% is certainly achievable. It's going to take some time and it's going to take some refinement. So we were conscious in our assessment to really focus on automation potential for use cases that we could fulfill in the near term. There's obviously going to be continued investment and refinement on our end so that we can start to tackle more and more of those higher complexity questions.
Great. Well, thank you, Dugan, for that information. And special thanks to our presenters today for their flexibility during the Q&A session. We unfortunately encountered a bit of technical difficulty, so I appreciate all of that. That is all the time we do have for questions today. I want to thank our speakers once again for their excellent presentation and our sponsor, Cedar, for making this program possible. Finally, thank you to you and our audience for participating today. We hope you'll join us in the future for another Health Leaders webinar, and this concludes today's program.